Hello everyone, welcome back. Now that we've finished our portrait project, or hopefully completed the actual portrait itself, I wanted to show you guys how to go ahead and lay in a background behind our portrait. There's several ways to go around about doing this, but I'm going to show you a technique that I use. I think adds a little bit of texture and interest to the background. You may have gotten my message about obtaining a piece of tracing paper. Hopefully you've been able to find one. You want to get, you don't necessarily have to have this size, but you want to make sure that you've got one that's large enough to cover the entire portrait itself. So hopefully you've got that, or you can get some shortly. So I want to demonstrate the method that I use to create this background. Obviously you can go ahead and you'll be working on this flat, so hopefully it'll be a little easier for you, but I need to put this up so you can see what I'm doing here. Anyway, first thing, you go ahead and lay your tracing paper down over the top of your portrait, and then go ahead and carefully trace the exterior contour line, just as if we were starting this project when we were laying out the original drawing along the grid. Go ahead and just chase that line right around your, make sure your paper doesn't move. Just carefully trace that exterior contour line. As so. Then put that down. Move Mr. Petty into the background. And you'll get your X-Acto knife and carefully go ahead and cut that right along that contour line that you just traced. So essentially we're creating just a simple mask to cover our image so that we can work from the inside and kind of work our way out into that background negative space and lay in a contrasting tone. Again, we'll kind of contrast with the techniques that we've used here on building our image. Okay, we've got our mask cut out. Again, most of you will be working flat on a surface, so I'm going to need to use a little tape on the back of mine so I can keep this vertical for my demonstration. See, most of you will be working flat, so you won't need to go through this step here that I'm going through to place this vertically. And of course, I've run out of tape here, naturally. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and very carefully line up my mask over my drawing. Make sure that sticks down accurately. Okay, so you've masked off your image. Now we're going to go ahead and tape the edges. We want to leave a little clean border around our image so we can lay this in. Normally I ask you guys to get a hold of some blue painter's tape, 1 inch wide. I'm down to the very last bit of my blue, so I'm going to use some yellow painter's tape instead. Now normally I work on a heavier stock paper when I'm doing taping off my edges. This drawing paper that we've got is a little lighter, but so just to be sure that I don't tear the paper when I pull it off, I'm going to go ahead and take this and run it across the leg of my pants just to lessen the sticky quality of the tape a little bit, so it's not quite as sticky as it normally would be. And then go ahead and lay that onto the image right along the edge of your grid that you want to mask off. Now it's not necessary to burnish down the whole edge. I just go along the inside edge there, get a nice sealed edge along that one. Pull this up a little closer. Oops. Even didn't come with me. Go ahead and drag the tape across there. Okay, doesn't matter to stick it down. Again, you're going to be working flat, so don't worry about this. Basically what I want to show you is the direction to work once you've got that covered up. Next thing you're going to do is go ahead and get your chamois. You should have a chamois in your collection of your arsenal of art tools. Hopefully it's a nice new clean one. If it's not, you want to get an extra piece of scratch paper that you can go ahead and make sure it's not leaving down any real dark marks. We're not going to start and build up our values a little bit in the background. So once you've got your nice clean chamois, fold it into a nice soft little pad, like that. Now get your pencil and your sanding pad, create a little pile of graphite you can dip your chamois into, and load that up. And we're just going to kind of lay in a really nice light background value. So I'm going to go ahead and load up my chamois a little bit and see how dark that mark is. Okay, as I mentioned, you're going to want to start on the inside of your paper where your mask is and work directionally from the inside out. Whoops. I like the way that this portrait's kind of diagonally heading up to the top left, so I'm going to go ahead and do this in another direction, the opposite direction, just to give a little more asymmetry to this composition. And once you start laying down strokes, you'll start running out of graphite on your pad, and you can get some really kind of nice varied effects. Let me go ahead and continue that over here. You can also, if you choose to, again, get most of the graphite off of your pad, and you can also just kind of softly lay out, if you want to just kind of leave a little bit of a glow of a vignette background, that's good as well. Let me get a little darker down here. Smooth that out a little bit. Add a little more graphite. Remember, you're working with graphite, so if worse comes to worse and you make a mark that you aren't happy with, grab your kneaded eraser and you can pull that out. As a matter of fact, sometimes I even add a little bit of extra texture into my marks with my eraser. I don't do a whole lot. I want to make it just a subtle complement to the image itself. I don't want to get too busy because there's obviously a lot of action going on with all these different techniques that we've used throughout. So maybe down here where it's a little bit lighter value, I'll go ahead and get a little bit darker, build that up just a bit. Like I said, I don't want it to get too intense. There's a lot going on just with those, again, a combination of different techniques that we've been using throughout. So I think that's kind of subtly, well, maybe a little bit more up in this corner, I think. And again, you guys, if you decide that you don't like that, any mark that you've made, you can go back in and pull that out and soften it if you like. Look for any areas that maybe just look a little dark, and it also kind of adds another little level of texture in the image as well. I think that's about all that I really want right now. So I'm going to go ahead and first pull my mask off carefully. Stay. Okay, now when you're pulling your tape, start with the first one you put on, or the top layer. And again, it's always wise to pull this kind of slow and pull it away from the image area. Again, since you've already taken a lot of the adhesive, thinned the adhesive on this tape, you shouldn't have a problem with it pulling the paper up with it. But I've had some students that have gotten in a hurry and tried to just yank the tape off, and it will pull off the top layer of the paper. This is pretty thin, light stock paper, so you shouldn't get in a hurry. Again, I always pull it slow and away from the image. Low and slow, I say. Forgot to run this piece across the pants. I can feel it's a little bit stickier, so highly recommend you remembering to go ahead and run the tape across your pants so you can get it less sticky and won't damage your paper. So anyway, there we go. I may want to make some other adjustments with my eraser when I go back in, but so it just adds a nice contrast to your background. It makes it a little more interesting and feels like a more complete drawing. Also, it gives you this nice clean border around the edge. So that's it. I'm going to go ahead and talk with you guys online again. So hope you've all had fun with this project. I know it's a lot of work, but you've learned a lot throughout this process. You've learned a lot about identifying shapes and contrasts and such that really, I know it can be a bit monotonous. It's a lot of work, lots of little stippling marks and such, but I hope that all of you have been very successful with your project, and I'll see you back online here. Thanks.